The United States and Israel have launched a widespread attack on Iran after months of growing tensions and threats. President Trump announced the operation early this morning, vowing to bring about a change in Iran's government. Tehran has responded with strikes of its own across the Middle East. Strikes have been reported in Iran's capital, Tehran, and several sites across the country, including the southern town of Minab, where, according to state media, 85 people have been killed at a girls' primary school. Iran has retaliated, hitting Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, all countries hosting US bases. Israel has declared a state of emergency as its air defences intercept missiles over Tel Aviv and Jerusalem.
Iranians were already sifting through rubble in bomb craters this morning when Donald Trump delivered the news they and the world had been bracing for.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. To the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or, in the alternative, face certain death. Finally, to the great proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war, but we're doing this not for now, we're doing this for the future.
It's clear that this is very different from last year's limited strikes on nuclear sites. Multiple cities across Iran have been struck, including Qom, Isfahan and Karaj. Smoke from strikes filled the skies over the capital Tehran. There were explosions near the presidential palace, and the Ayatollah Khamenei's compound was reduced to rubble. There was chaos in the streets as Iranians rushed to seek shelter and rescue loved ones. Iranian state media says at least 85 people were killed in a strike at a girls' primary school in the south of the country. Iran responded quickly, attacking US bases across the region as explosions erupted in Qatar, Bahrain, Jordan and Saudi Arabia, and a popular hotel was hit in Dubai. Sirens rang out across Israeli cities and air defences intercepted missiles above Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, but some have hit targets. Israel's foreign minister said it launched what it called a preemptive strike, though there is no evidence that an Iranian attack was imminent. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the joint US-Israeli operation was to remove an existential threat posed by the Iranian regime. Israeli officials have said the attacks will last 4 days, but nobody can really predict what will happen next. Fergal Gallagher, RTE News.
The scale and impact of today's major military escalation in the Middle East has provoked a mixed response from world leaders. The UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer urged Iran to seek a negotiated solution, while also announcing new defensive operations.
Our forces are active and British planes are in the sky today as part of coordinated regional defensive operations to protect our people, our interests and our allies.
Oman's foreign minister, who had been mediating this week's US-Iran nuclear talks, said he was dismayed, while UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres condemned the US strikes, saying they undermined international peace and security. Others were more supportive.
Canada supports the United States acting to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon and to prevent its regime from further threatening international peace and security. And the Canadian government urges the protection of all civilians in this conflict going forward.
But the long-term consequences are unpredictable, with some analysts warning about the potential fallout from regime change in Iran.
And usually in a situation of vacuum, you also see outside powers, regional powers, come in with money and arms, and this turns into a proxy war in addition to a civil war. All of those scenarios are possible. And the consequences are disastrous because Iran is a country of 92 million. If it turns into a failed state engaged in a civil war, the consequences could really destabilize the entire region and have consequences for the entire world.
For now, a tense and testing moment as world leaders weigh the potential consequences of another major war in the Middle East. Kate Varley, RTE News.
Well, the Taoiseach Micheál Martin has said he is deeply concerned about the military strikes and the potential for wider conflict in the region. He said embassies and missions in the region are working to support Irish citizens affected. Iranians living here gathered in Dublin city centre this afternoon to continue their calls for a change of regime in Iran.
United in their call for democracy, Iranians here in Ireland have been holding weekly demonstrations to highlight the lives lost during the government's crackdown on protesters in Iran. Today they felt a sense of hope that their campaign for change could be within reach.
We were seeing videos coming from Iran. People are actually dancing on the streets because they're happy. US finally Donald Trump kept his word, and they are intervening and
feel this is like our opportunity to get to freedom at some point. Yeah.
In Iran, we have not been waiting for it for 2 months. We have been waiting for it for 47 years.
Many people at the moment very happy for this action because we know that if there wouldn't be any action, more people were killed by the regime.
The overwhelming sentiment of people here is that this intervention is necessary to bring about a change in regime. But politically, a lot of concern has been expressed and condemnation of US and Israeli actions and also the Iranian response.
There is absolutely no conceivable justification for these actions. This is unprovoked military aggression. It flies against international law.
What we want to see is a de-escalation so that we can prevent the potential loss of civilian life, and really our focus and the focus of many European and international partners is to try and get all of those involved around the table. I appreciate that has not been successful in recent weeks.
She warned that a wider escalation of conflict in the region has the potential to cause utter devastation. Karen Creed, RTE News.
Well, for more on this story, we're joined now in studio by our Deputy Foreign Editor, Edmund Heafy, and also in Washington by our correspondent, Sean Whelan. Sean, if I can turn to you. First of all, US and Israel have been building up to this for some time now. What are they hoping to achieve by all this?
Well, according to that statement in the early hours of this morning from President Trump, the aim of this attack is regime change. They want to get rid of the Ayatollah, his whole Islamic State regime, and have the people of Iran do the grunt work, as it were, to seize control of their own country. So he's supplying the air power, the rocket power, the Israelis supplying the same, and crucially, the intelligence gathering, particularly intelligence gathered by human sources on the ground. The Israelis seem to have unparalleled access to what's going on in Iran. That's why we've seen these coordinated strikes in the early hours on 3 locations where the Iranian upper echelon of government was meeting in different locations, but we understand video linked together, and that this unique coming together was the trigger point for these attacks to start. But as you say, they have been building up for some time. By some estimates, the Americans have deployed almost half of their deployable air power into the Middle Eastern region to run a campaign that's going to go on at least for several days and then see what happens. But how they get out of it, well, that's the big question now, isn't it? Is the Iranian regime going to be pushed? It has been severely weakened in recent years. Will this military action finish it off? Or will they be able to tough it out, hunker down, withstand the bombing campaigns? Governments can withstand these things for a long time. I remember being in Serbia, being bombed by NATO, 70 days before anything changed. This one could end rather difficultly.
Edmund, turning to you now, what are the concerns about a wider conflict then in the region?
Well, Kate, just to give you an idea of the scale of these US and Israeli attacks on Iran, we got an update from the Iranian Red Crescent just in the past short while, and they said that the attacks hit 24 of Iran's 31 provinces. So far, 201 people have been killed and more than 700 people injured. So that means Iran will be determined to hit back. Now, it knows that it cannot confront the US directly. So its goal, I think, will be to cause as much regional instability as it can. And the problem for the US and Israel and for the region is that Iran has the tools to do that. Over decades, it has built a network of proxy forces. You have Hezbollah in Lebanon, you have the Houthis in Yemen, and you have Shia militias embedded with Iraq's own security forces. Now, many of them have been badly weakened in the past few years, but they still exist. And even a series of coordinated, simultaneous attacks across multiple fronts, that would force the US and Israel to engage everywhere all at once. It would stretch air defences, it would drain resources, and it would bring the whole region to a standstill. And there's already serious questions about whether the US and Israel have enough missile interceptors to defend against those types of sustained attacks.
OK, Edmund Heafy and Sean Whelan, thank you both. Well, let's go to Dubai now, where John Gambrell of Associated Press News is standing by. And John, we were hearing reports of explosions in Dubai today. So what's the situation like there?
Well, over the last several hours, we have seen multiple missile attacks in Dubai, which is shocking because Dubai has always kind of set itself off as a safer part of the Middle East. And now this conflict has come to its shores. I personally saw, just in the last hour or so, a couple of interceptors streak across the sky. Then you heard the thud of the explosion as they tried to take out whatever missile was there. Already today, we did see one person killed in Abu Dhabi, the capital of the United Arab Emirates. That person was killed by falling shrapnel from one of these interceptions, showing just how dangerous it can be on the ground, even if these missiles are shot down. Meanwhile, we did see a hotel catch fire on the Palm Jumeirah in Dubai. That is that man-made archipelago off the coast. Now, the authorities here aren't directly saying that it was from an Iranian missile attack. However, the fire started during one of these attacks. Online videos purport to show something falling from the sky, hitting by the hotel and sparking the fire. We don't know if there's any injuries there. Traffic has been snarled over there for a while now, but Dubai is insisting, and the wider UAE is insisting, that it remains safe even as its airspace is shut down, totally disrupting east-west travel. Dubai is a major hub as it is home to the long-haul carrier Emirates, and also in Abu Dhabi, Etihad, and we've also seen Qatar Airways stop its flights as well, really meaning that travel is getting snarled, and there's also the chance that global oil prices will go up as they start to be traded on Sunday.
So what advice is being given to people there then?
Well, we've heard from the American embassy here. They've ordered their diplomats to shelter in place. They've said the same for Americans as well. The UAE in general is trying to insist that it has enough food, medicine, supplies to withstand any attacks, and it's also still trying to downplay these attacks right now. But for anybody living here, these thuds are unmistakable. You know exactly what it is when you see it. And when it was still daylight outside, you could see the puff of the pyrocumulus cloud, just coming after the attacks. So it's hard to ignore, and it's something that's likely to go on.
OK, John Gambrell of Associated Press News, thank you for joining us this evening. Well, many Irish people live and work in the region. Tom Byrne is an architect from County Clare living in Bahrain, just across the Persian Gulf from Iran. He told our reporter Coleman O'Sullivan that he woke up to a text from a friend saying that Israel had attacked Iran.
I immediately turned on the TV and I saw what was going on, and I kind of braced myself because I knew that if there was any retaliation, Bahrain is only, as F-15s fly, Tehran is only about 15 minutes flight from Bahrain. So I knew that, and I saw that one of the headlines that the Iranians had said that they would retaliate. So I kind of braced myself, and not thinking it would be as quick. But within an hour of the message that I saw on the TV, I heard this massive explosion, followed by warnings that came up on my phone automatically from the Ministry of the Interior to say, stay at home, don't go out in the streets, airports closed, ports closed, main thoroughfares, main highways were closed. I heard about three more explosions after that. And given that I'm about maybe 7 kilometers from where the strikes were, the first one was definitely an incoming that hit The rest of them weren't. The first one that came, I mean, the house almost shook. It vibrated a bit. But the other ones were obviously Patriot missiles taking out other incoming missiles from Iran. They weren't as heavy or as noisy.
Are you worried about immediate danger, or do you feel reassured by the missile defences that you've described there?
No, I'm not worried at all. I wasn't worried during the attack this morning because, as I say, I could see the smoke billowing, but it would have to be a very stray missile to come as far as me. I mean, there might be some collateral damage. I haven't heard of any casualties. They would see it as a kind of a desecration of Ramadan as well. The Iranians would, as well as the Bahrainis and the Saudis. So that's the religious aspect of it. I mean, it's a sacred month where you're supposed to be very generous and kind, and to your neighbours. And I have to say, having lived out here for 14 years, I've gotten used to Ramadan every year. And it is a very sacred month, and I've got to respect it.
Well, most flights to affected countries in the region have been suspended. Dublin Airport has experienced disruption to services. Qatar Airways has suspended all flights in and out of Doha, and Emirates has cancelled its services to and from Dubai. DAA is advising anyone travelling to the region to check with their airlines.